Okay, we're going to get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Blair Pleasant. I'm President and Principal Analyst of COMMfusion. I'm an independent analyst, and I'm also co-founder of UC Strategies. And for those of you who aren't familiar with UC Strategies, we're a group of independent analysts and consultants, and we have a website where we have articles, blogs, podcasts, providing information on all things unified communications and collaboration. So think about the best collaboration ever. It can be anything, whatever you think is the best collaboration. For me, it's Lennon and McCartney, the Beatles, the best collaborators ever. So being that it's the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper, and I'm here in the homeland of my idols and not too far from Abbey Road Studios, I'm going to be interjecting some Beatle references throughout my presentation. So think of this as the future of collaboration according to the Beatles. Now, collaboration is all about coming together, and everyone has their own definition for collaboration, but of course mine is the definitive because I'm an analyst and I say so. So it's all about using tools to enable groups and individuals, no matter where they're located, dispersed, wherever they are, to come together to produce a business outcome or result. So we have to think of what are the outcomes and results we're trying to achieve. And whenever you embark on a collaboration strategy, make sure you're thinking about those outcomes and goals and the business results you're trying to achieve. One thing I get asked a lot, is collaboration an action? Is it a technology? Is it a tool? And really the answer is yes, it's all of those things. And collaboration is basically a verb, an adverb. It's all these different things. So quickly, some of the things I'll be talking about today, where we were, where we are, where we're going, and how we're going to get there. And if you ask people today, what do you think about business collaboration? This is what they're going to say, help. It's really not working right. And one of the reasons is this. There are so many different elements and components that make up a collaboration solution, and they don't all work well together. And this list is growing, and of course it doesn't include everything, but there are things here that weren't there a couple of years ago. So quickly looking at where we were yesterday and where we are today, you know, until recently it was all about UC, now it's all about collaboration. Telepresence was the big thing. You know, you had these big formal telepresence rooms. Now we're seeing a lot more huddle rooms, a lot more informal settings, a lot more desktop types of collaboration. And until recently, collaboration was very siloed. It was its own activity. Now we're seeing collaboration really being integrated and embedded in lots of other things, and I'll be talking about that a lot today. And until recently, of course, everything was premises-based. Now everything is cloud-based. Although I do see a pendulum, and things are probably going to level off somewhere in between. And until recently, if you wanted to do any sort of customization, any sort of integrations, you needed to pay a lot of money for professional services to do any kind of integration. Now we've got APIs and CPaaS, which I'll also be talking about. And also, until recently, everything was static. You had a team working together, and that was a team you had. Now we've got virtual teams based on projects going in and out. So looking at what I'll be talking about today and what's new, we'll be talking about team messaging and what's coming with that, new embedded communications. I'll talk a little bit about some of the new devices, and a lot of them I see on the floor here. And also AI, cognitive, and bots. We have to talk about that. So looking at the evolution or revolution of collaboration, or what I like to call the long and winding road. So those of you who aren't Beatle fans, you know, you might need to ask the person next to you, but there's a lot of references in here. So as I said, it all started with unified communications, and really what happened is UC was great for personal productivity, but a lot of users felt that they weren't getting the bang for the buck. They weren't getting the ROI that they really expected. So then the vendors and users started talking about collaboration and about teams and work groups and how they can benefit from the productivity and the tools of unified communications and collaboration. So vendors started changing the name, so everything that was UC became collaboration. So now everything is all about UCC. And now the latest and greatest is team messaging, which we've been hearing about, you know, yesterday from Microsoft, this morning from Snorre. Everyone's talking about team messaging. And what I see really happening now, or we're very early in the beginning of, is embedded communications and collaboration, and I'll be talking about that. And then the next greatest thing is going to be cognitive collaboration and cognitive communication and collaboration, or the 3 Cs. Now, when we talk about team messaging or team collaboration, there are lots of different names for it. No one's really come up with, the one name. Some of my colleagues call it workstream communication or workspace collaboration. But it's all about these virtual rooms where there's persistence and where people come to do their work, and it really becomes the hub of all of their activities. Again, every vendor has a different name for it. Some people talk about, you go to a room. Others say you go to a channel. But it's these workspaces where people can collaborate, whatever the name for it is. And it's really based on messaging, whereas UC and some of the collaboration capabilities in the past were really voice-centric. With these team collaboration solutions, it's really messaging-based. And some of the other capabilities are file sharing, meetings, conferences, all the typical things you would expect. And then search is really, really important, because when you start bringing in all your files, and then what happens is you're working on a project and you have a space for that. Then you're working on another project or a sub-project and you open up another space and you bring in files, and you've got these files all over the place, and it gets a little confusing. So you really need these good search tools in order to find out, which file am I working on, what do I need for this particular project. And the key thing is persistence. So as Snorre showed, when you come back to one of these team spaces, everything is still going to be there. Your chats, your discussions, your conversations, the files you used, everything is still going to be there. And if someone new comes into the conversation or comes into the workspace, they'll have access to all the information. It's there and it's persistent. Virtual teams can be set up very easily and quickly. If you've got a new project, you just set up a new virtual team. It's really easy to just set up and break down teams. And obviously it's made for the mobile world. Everything is mobile first, so you'll be able to have a mobile client or access to all of these capabilities from your mobile device, any location, any device. Of course, it's all cloud enabled. Everything is. And it's secure. A lot of these capabilities, as I said, were based on, some of the it's based on messaging. So a lot of them, kind of came from the Facebook world and that kind of thing. But for the enterprise, you need to have that security that the enterprises require. And if we look at the vendor landscape, it is growing leaps and bounds. And there are lots of different types of vendors in this space. So we have companies like Slack and HipChat, where they were basically born to do this kind of thing. Their products are team collaboration products. And then if we look at some of the other vendors that are in the space now, we have our typical UC vendors that have been adding team workspace capabilities. So companies like Mitel has Mitel Teams. Avaya introduced Zang Spaces. RingCentral acquired a company called Glip, and they have their team workspace now. 8x8 recently acquired a company called Same Room. So all the typical UC vendors now are offering team capabilities. Then we also have some new players that you have to be thinking about and on the lookout for. Companies like Amazon. Amazon introduced Chime, which is a team chat solution. IBM, I'll be talking about, they've got a new workspace that's coming out. Amazon introduced their product Chime. As I said, Facebook Workspace. That's something new. Facebook is now in the enterprise. That's something that wasn't there a couple years ago. So, and Google, Google Chat and Hangouts, they've got a new solution also. So it's not just your typical vendors. There's lots and lots of new players now. So what's coming next for team collaboration? Right now, we've got a lot of silos. What's coming now is that team collaboration is going to be embedded in everything. It's going to be here, there, and everywhere. And the issue we have right now is we have silos even within vendors. So a UC vendor will have their UC client and their UC solution, and then on top of that, they also have separately their team workspace solution. So they may or may not work together depending on the vendor and where they are in their roadmap. So we have silos within UC and collaboration. And then a lot of times the voice technologies aren't necessarily integrated in. So you might be able to do peer-to-peer calling with someone within that team workspace, but you might not be able to call outside to someone using the PSTN. So the integration of voice and UC is going to be coming, and most of the vendors, if you talk to them and ask them about it, they'll say it's on the roadmap. Then we also have these team collaborations embedded in the workflows and embedded in applications that people are using. So most people talk about, yeah, I have integration with Salesforce and maybe Zendesk or one or two other things. So from within those applications, you'll be able to access some of your team collaboration capabilities. So we're starting to see that, but again, we're just at the beginnings of it. So right now, if you're in Salesforce and you need to do something in your team collaboration application, you need to switch screens and you need to stop what you're doing and go to another application, maybe even log in, and it's kind of a hassle. So what's coming now is more tight integration, so everything's going to be seamless with the same user interface, so you don't have to switch user interfaces. And I talk about it being embedded where you live. So think about the applications that you do every day to do your job. So whether it's healthcare or whether it's claims processing, the application that you use every day, your communication and collaboration capabilities need to be embedded into those applications. So again, it's all seamless and one application. Now, I think what's happening is that UC is starting to be subsumed by some of these collaboration capabilities. So as I mentioned, a lot of the vendors, the UC vendors, they have their UC client and application, and they've got their team collaboration application and client, and they're separate. So they're starting to add some voice capabilities and some UC capabilities to the team collaboration. And I think what's going to happen in many cases is that the UC client is going to go away, and it's all going to be these new team workspaces that are really going to be the client that you're going to be using, and that's really going to be, the UC solution. So UC is going to move over to these team workspaces. And this is a lot of this is being done using APIs and CPaaS. They're really the building blocks or the Lego blocks of communications. So all the vendors are integrating, they all offer APIs and toolkits so that you can integrate different applications into the team workspaces. And what's happening is that collaboration is just being integrated and embedded into the different workflows, as I said. So if you're in a help desk and you open a ticket, it should be able to automatically initiate a web chat or interaction with some of the project team members so that you don't have to do anything. The workflow just sets it off automatically. So we're seeing a lot of the business applications, so whether it's vertical or horizontal applications, being embedded with click-to-call, click-to-collaborate, desktop sharing, video sharing, all of those things just from within the application. Again, so you don't have to stop what you're doing, lose track of what you're doing, and move to another application. Everything's going to be seamless in one user interface. So I'm going to switch topics for a minute and talk about devices, because that's a big part of collaboration. As collaboration grows, so are the devices that we're using. And if you went out on the show floor, you've seen some of these devices, and I was really glad to see a lot of them out there. So we've got things like Microsoft Surface Hub. This morning you heard Snorri talking about Cisco Spark and what they're doing with that in the Spark board. There's also a vendor out there, Nariva, that has a product called Span. And this is really interesting. What they do is it'll take some of the tools that you use at your desktop, like sticky notes and drawing tools, and they'll digitally transform it. And then they can show it on any kind of wall. So just a wall there can show all of your collaboration tools, and you can have your collaboration experience wherever you are. Also, Google came out with their Jamboard, which is typical smart board type of thing. And what's happening is that these smart boards are getting smarter and smarter. So Spark, for example, when I was at Cisco for a Spark launch, I had my Spark app on my phone, and when I walked into the rooms that had the Sparkboard, it recognized me and it knew that I was there. It didn't let me join the collaboration session because I wasn't invited into that session, so it had the security to not let me in, but it knew that I was there. So these boards are getting smarter and smarter, and they're also adding conversational interfaces. Snorri mentioned that Cisco acquired MindMeld. So you're going to be able to interact with a Sparkboard using just conversation, and the other vendors are going to be following suit and doing that as well. So you'll just be able to have interactions with these smart boards. So this is all great if you're in an office with a meeting room that has these devices. But if you're mobile or if you're remote, then you need something different. So we're seeing a lot of growth in wearables. And what we're going to start seeing happening is that these wearables are going to be purpose-built. So for the different tools and jobs that you're doing, there'll be different types of wearables. This one down in the bottom, or down here, it's from a company or product called Secret. And it basically shows your smartphone on your wrist. So you can have a collaboration session on your wrist without, having the Apple Watch, which is above that. Although I did find out that Secret never went GA, so it's not happening, but it gives you an idea of what's coming in the near future. Then another type of device we're seeing is virtual reality and augmented reality. And we've seen demos. We're not quite there yet, but it's certainly on the roadmap, and it's what's coming in the near future. This one in the bottom left with the guy with the virtual reality headset, that was from a demo I saw at an Avaya event. It's a company, EXP360, and they work in the travel industry. So they'll have travel agents will send like the Google Cardboard to a client with a QR code that the customer will scan in, and the client and the travel agent will be able to have an interactive session where the customer sees everything in virtual reality, so the agent can be showing them, a hotel property and say, oh, look at the pools over here, or, look at this building over here. And by integrating in with the Avaya Oceana, they're able to have real-time voice interactions while they're having this shared virtual reality experience. So we're starting to see more companies adding virtual reality for collaboration. Some use avatars where you'll be in this, little virtual reality room, which seems a little hokey, but some people like it. So the next big thing is cognitive collaboration, and that involves artificial intelligence, natural language processing, bots. So really, AI is the overall term, and cognitive is part of AI, and cognitive is, learning from experience. So that's a subset of AI, but cognitive collaboration sounds a lot better than artificial intelligence collaboration, so we'll just go with that. So there are two key things that cognitive collaboration bring. So the first is insight. It'll be able to pull up from all your different documents and your conversations and your interactions, it'll be able to surface up the proper documents and content for you based on what you're doing now and what it assumes that you need. It'll also be able to locate the right experts to be able to bring into a meeting. So it'll say, based on past interactions you had, you need to bring John and Joe and Bob into this meeting, and it'll automatically reach out to them. And also prioritizing information. Again, we're so overloaded with documents and information, so these bots and AI systems will be able to, based on context and what you're doing, be able to dissect and find the right information and surface it to you when you need it and prioritize it for you. Then the other thing is taking action, and this is where I think the real value will be. It'll be able to schedule meetings for you, invite the right people, assign work tasks, follow up on work tasks, do all the types of manual things that we do right now. These things will be automated, and these bots and AI systems will do a lot of the manual things. So we can really focus on work and what it is that we need to do rather than focusing on, now where was that file, and who do I need to contact? Everything's going to be taken care of for us. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? So when we look at cognitive with collaboration, the real benefits that we get are improved team flow. So things are going to be moving a lot more smoothly. You don't have to, again, stop and look for the documents or the information that you need. You can locate the information, very simply. And these bots are going to be great for really proactively assisting you, so you don't have to think about, now what do I need to do next? It'll bring up the next actions for you. And also improved productivity. Everything is going to be more assisted. So again, it's going to take away a lot of the manual tasks that you have to do. So workers don't have to spend as much time searching around for things, so they can really spend time focused on the collaboration session or focused on what it is they're trying to do. And this is a quote from IBM that I really like. They're obviously very big on cognitive technologies. So they're saying that the future of collaboration is based on cognitive, and it's about reducing redundancy and mitigating unnecessary tasks and really tying everything into the flow. So some examples of cognitive collaboration that are out there. I mentioned IBM. We're all familiar with Watson, and it does more than win game shows. So Watson is being tied into a lot of things that IBM is doing, and they have a new solution called IBM Watson Workplace, which is one of the team collaboration solutions, you know, the messaging solutions like Slack and HipChat. So IBM is coming out with their own version. But what's going to be different is that it's going to tie in with the Watson cognitive capabilities. So a lot of the things that I just talked about, being able to prioritize tasks and information, this is something that we're going to find in Watson Workspace. Another company is Google. They introduced Google Hangout Chat and Meet. And so within Google Chat, which again is another team workspace, so if you have an interaction going on with your team and you say, we need to meet tomorrow, a bot at Meet will reach into everybody in your group's calendar, the Google Calendar, of course, and try to find a time that works for everybody for you to have a meeting. So it'll find a time that works, which I find to be impossible, so if at Meet can do it, power to it. So it'll look into the calendar, find the right times, send out the invitations, and set up the meeting. Cisco Spark, we talked about and you heard a lot about. What I think is really cool is the MindMeld acquisition to really bring that conversational chat into play. Slack is sort of, you know, when we think of team workspaces, Slack is the one that everybody thinks about. And they're doing a lot with bots. And if you go on their website, they have hundreds of bots that they're using to automate a lot of these different tasks and to bring in different types of capabilities. So we're really starting to see the beginning of cognitive collaboration taking place. So it's the future, but we're at the very beginning of it. Where do we see personal assistants? You know, the Cortanas, the Siris. You know, obviously these are being used at home and in our personal lives, but are they going to be used in the enterprise? And you have to really be a Beatle fan to know this reference. It won't be long. But it won't be long until we start seeing these personal assistants coming into the enterprise. So all the things that we can do with, you know, Echo and these things at home, we'll be able to do for our business types of situations. So, you know, set up a meeting, find me a contact, bring up the sales report, bring up my last 5 interactions with John. We'll be able to have all of those interactions through that natural language interaction. The next thing I want to talk about is the Internet of Things, or IoT. So here's an example. You've got an oil rig platform out on the Atlantic, and oh my God, there's a fire. There's something going on. So the sensors there are going to be able to pick up that there's a situation, and it's going to automatically initiate a workflow. So that workflow is going to know that it needs to reach out to the right experts. So it's going to find the right experts and then set up a video conference so that these people can get together and find out, you know, what the problem is and come up with a solution. So with IoT and collaboration, we're going to see, you know, sensors are going to pick up something, or they're going to find out something's a little out of whack, initiate or trigger that workflow, and then bring everyone together in that collaborative session. Another area where we see collaboration taking off is in the customer experience or customer care situation. So again, if I needed someone, another Beatle reference for those of you who don't know. So there are 2 main ways that collaboration is being used with contact center or customer experience. One is being able to find those subject matter experts. So if you're on the phone with a contact center agent and they don't have all the information you need, they can use collaboration to reach out to subject matter expert within the organization to really be able to help you. So they can just send a quick IM to the subject matter expert to get the information, or they might want to send you a link and initiate desktop sharing. So the subject matter expert and the agent with you can have a collaborative session and they can help solve your problem. And this is something we've been hearing about for a really long time, but I think it's finally starting. The other area is video collaboration. That's, we've been seeing this for a while. There are video kiosks that we see for video collaboration. We're all familiar with the Amazon Mayday button to be able to, just reach out to someone from your Amazon device to reach out and get some help. And this is the start of what's to come. And this is a picture of an interactive teller machine. This was in Dubai at the Emirates Bank of the Future. And if you have a problem, if the machine eats your card, you can have an interactive video interaction with somebody. So looking at the key vendors, I think the vendor landscape is really going to be changing. So we've got all the traditional vendors that are offering these team collaboration capabilities, and they're expanding their collaboration capabilities. But then we also have all these disruptors that are coming into place. Amazon Web Services, Salesforce is adding collaboration capabilities, Facebook, as I said. So we really need to be expanding who we're thinking about when we move forward with collaboration. It might be your traditional vendor, or it might be a new vendor that you haven't thought about in the past. How to start getting ready. Don't take a helter-skelter approach. You have to be methodical about it. And there are three key things to be thinking about: people, process, and technology. So with people, this is something I can spend an hour on, and I usually do. I give lots of presentations about the people aspect of things. The importance of user adoption, user training, and adapting your culture. These technologies, we all talk about, the millennials, come into the workforce and they know how to use everything. We still need to have that training. We still need users to understand why and how to use these technologies, especially for some people who may not really want to collaborate. They have to understand, why your organization is moving into this collaborative culture and why it's so important. And these things need to come from the top. And again, I can spend an hour on this, but I only have about 2 minutes. The other thing is process or workflows. We talk about tying all of this into your business workflows, but you need to understand what your workflows are. So it's important to talk to your users, talk to your line of business people, and understand what are the different workflows and how can we tie collaboration into that. And then lastly, it's the technology. We've got great technology, and it's been around, and it's expanding, and it's changing. But technology is really the last thing you should be thinking about. Again, it's the users and the processes that you think about before you think about the technology. And it all has to be around your goals and outcomes, as I talked about earlier. So it could be, I want to improve customer service. I want to reduce the time it takes to introduce a new product, or I want to reduce the number of defects we have. Whatever those goals and outcomes are that you're trying to achieve, your collaboration strategy and the technologies that you use have to be based on that. And then you also have to make sure that you have your foundations in place, that if you're moving to the cloud, that you've got your network in place. So make sure that you have the foundations first before you start moving into this new world of collaboration. And then understanding the use cases is critical. Talk to your users. What's a day in the life like for them? What tools are they using? What business processes are they using? How do they work? Are they mobile? Are they remote? Are they using collaboration capabilities that you don't know about? Are they using Slack or some of these free applications that maybe you don't know about? So it's really important to survey your users and talk to them and find out what they're using and how they're working, and develop your collaboration strategy going forward around that. So where collaboration is headed, everything is coming together. Cognitive, content, connections, communication, all of these things are coming together. So right now we've got a lot of silos, but everything is coming together. And the future of collaboration is really all about one user experience. So calling, conferencing, meetings, communication, everything is going to be one seamless user experience. And if your vendors are talking about different silos right now, ask them, what are you doing to bring together these different silos so that my users can have that seamless experience? And in summary, It's getting better all the time. So thank you very much.